Part 7 of our regional Queensland business showcase takes us inland to Toowoomba, where we meet a globally recognised wallpaper manufacturer and a third-generation family jeweller. It's a very bespoke episode 573 of the 12-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of beautifully designed marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing strategies and ideas to help that business of yours grow. You, so much more importantly, are a motivated business owner, ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And that's exactly what we do around here. It's exactly why this podcast exists, in order to help you. So thank you for finding it. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Quick check-in before we meet our first guest. For all those who are members of the Small Business Big Marketing Facebook tribe, and if you aren't, then I suggest you do become a member. I haven't been inside that group for a couple of weeks. I've had a little bit of spinal surgery, team. I had something removed from my spine, and I'm absolutely fine. A little bit sore, a little bit ginger. The show must go on. But sorry to all you tribesters. I will be back in there very shortly. And by the way, loving the content that you guys are creating. The roadshow that I'm on at the moment, and yes, I have managed to do it in between spinal procedures, has been absolutely fantastic. So if you don't know, I've been travelling from Queensland down to the Gold Coast, not in one hit, flying here, flying there, getting a train, all this kind of stuff. Speaking at these business events put on by Listener, the podcast network that I'm a part of, and speaking to business owners in each city. Many listeners have been popping up and saying g'day. I've been absolutely loving that. We've had panel discussions with local business owners, local business identities, and I give a 1-hour keynote around marketing. It's been really valuable. I've loved it. I know the audiences have been really responsive. If you are in regional Australia somewhere, in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, or anywhere, send us a note if you'd like us to come to your city, and I'll put it to the powers that be and see whether we can make it happen, because it's absolutely been fantastic for businesses in regional Queensland. So send me a note, tim@timreid.com.au, and that's REID, and we may be able to get a bit of a groundswell if you would like us to come to your regional town somewhere in regional Australia. All right, well, this week we head inland to Toowoomba to meet Lachlan Hogan, a third-generation family jeweller who is on an absolute mission to ensure the 76-year-old family business he's now in charge of stays relevant in what's a pretty competitive marketplace. And he's got some great insights to share, has young Lachlan. But first, let's meet Bryce Capp, the co-founder, along with his brother, of Milton and King, a multi-million-dollar e-commerce wallpaper business based in regional Queensland, but with offices in the US and the UK. You're going to love Bryce for a bunch of reasons, not least of which is his story of how the business came to be, why he quickly pulled out of wholesaling and went 100% online. He's got some great insights into customer service and the all-important customer experience. And here he is explaining why he decided to start a wallpaper business in the first place.
It's a pretty long story, to be honest. We started off in canvas prints. I came back from Spain, having lived over there for a few years, with this bold idea of doing canvas prints and selling those to interior design trade. We borrowed some money off our oldest brother to buy our first printer, and we started doing that. Richard was knocking up frames and I was printing, and in our wisdom we did a brochure up that said we could do wallpaper, and we couldn't.
Oops.
Yeah.
Maybe not oops.
Maybe not, yeah. So that actually got more interest than anything else, so we then thought, well, there might be something in this, and we dove into it. But there was no off-the-shelf solution, so we were basically using the printer we had for canvas prints, and
Kind of interesting to just leap into wallpaper with no wallpaper experience. It's not as if wallpaper, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I actually personally love wallpaper, but I imagine as a market, it's not huge. And most people just divert immediately to paint.
Yeah, no, paint is the preferred option. Yeah, look, it was a bit of a jump. We saw that there was potentially a market there, so we got into it basically, and we were young and...
Bryce, when you say you saw a market there, what did you see specifically?
Well, just the interest that we were getting from interior designers, and also that there was no one in that segment that was actually doing a on-demand digital wallpaper. Really, there was no one on the planet doing it at that time. So, yeah, we just thought, well, there's got to be a solution here for a digital solution. So we dove into it and developed, basically.
So was your offering at that time on-demand digital, as opposed to here's a whole different lot of designs of which they're ready to go, but we're not doing anything on demand, and if you don't like it, then that's all we've got?
Yeah, like we were doing custom stuff then. Because of the cost of production, we had to do a custom finish, so it was a per square metre rate, which was pretty high. We made a little bit of money out of it, but really not much. And it just sort of gave us the leg up to then dive into the direction we are now. But
it was all custom. What was the biggest hurdle, Bryce, in getting Milton and King to market?
Oh, look, it's always been capital. Like every startup, it's always capital. We're completely customer funded, so it's been a long journey, but capital and equipment.
Okay, so equipment as in equipment that wouldn't be easy to find in Australia, because there's not a whole lot of wall manufacturers in Australia, so you had to import it?
No, so there was no off-the-shelf solution, as I said earlier, so we had to wait for technology to catch up a bit, which it did probably about 6 years ago, I suppose. It caught up and allowed us to buy a machine or a couple of machines that would do the process pretty easily.
So the Milton and King offering now it's an online store. You quickly realised, from what I can tell, that the market in Australia wasn't big enough to keep you blokes going forever, so you had to embark overseas, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you've got 600 designs on that store now, and you're adding one every week? Yeah,
it'd be about that. We're pretty busy, so there'd be about 600 designs, but if you take into account all the different colourways, we're probably looking at over 1,500 SKUs. We add them because we are on demand and completely digital. We can take a file, we can get it up online before we even really print it. So we can see that something's going to work. We create the file, do the artwork, and get it live. So, and there's no risk, obviously, because we're not printing anything until it's sold.
Do you have in-house artists that are constantly creating new designs, or do you go and find artists whose work you like and license it? How does that work?
We do a bit of both. I'm a graphic designer, so I do it. Originally, I did most of it, but my time's now more in marketing. So we curate a collection now. So we find artists that we like the look of, and we approach them to create wallpapers, basically. We also receive a lot of submissions and from artists from all over the globe. So it tends to find us, to be honest.
And do people come to you with, a photo or a design of their own?
Yeah, they try to, but we don't actually do that. That's not our thing.
That's a bit cheap for the Milton and King way, which I've got to say, mate, I mean, it's a really impressive looking brand. Your website's actually a joy to just spend some time and go through. If you're into design and aesthetic, which is kind of funny coming from a bloke who doesn't know whether to match his socks with his shoes or his belt, but we'll put that aside. I mean, clearly as a graphic designer, you've spent some time creating a brand that is quite premium in the way it looks.
Yeah, well, that's always been our main focus, to create a brand that was, that's where the value is. Anyone now with technology being where it is could take photos off the internet and print them and make wall murals, but at the end of the day, it's the brand that sells, and it's the look, and it's it's that aesthetic that we have which sets us apart.
That's really interesting. So what you're saying there is your brand is your point of difference in it's not actually a crowded marketplace. I mean, there's plenty more crowded marketplaces than wallpaper, but your brand really makes you stand out.
Yeah, there's a lot of traditional players that have been around for a very long time. We're a very young player in this market, and there's a lot of businesses like us that are doing a digital solution, but again, they're not offering a 10-metre roll, they're doing a wall mural or something to that effect, or removable, which is a different product altogether.
Are there wallpaper fanatics out there? And if there are, do you engage with them?
There is, yeah. There's people that have paper in every room, which is our market. You know, they're the people that are expressive enough to try it. We have a pretty big outreach program, and that's how we get in front of a lot of these people.
What do you mean by an outreach program?
Our main source of marketing for a long time was just using influencers to get our product out. So we're pretty intensive in that, mostly in the US, but that's our easiest way to get in front of people. And then we use that content that we get back from those influencers, you know, through our whole marketing channel, basically.
Sounds like you're ahead of the game. Influencers has sort of come into its own probably in the last, I'd probably say 3 or 4 years, but you were doing it before then?
Well, we've had to do it because of, that lack of capital. It was our only way of marketing. So we'd give away 2-3 roles and get content back and also reach out to their following.
Just step me through. How do you identify an influencer? How do you contact them? What do you send them? And what do you ask of them?
So we find them, we use a software called Grin, which helps with contracts and connections and so on. Basically, we get a lot of influencers that come to us, obviously, but we also find ones that have the, not necessarily the size, but they have the engagement, have the aesthetic that we do, have a loyal following, often a blog, needs to be a blog. And in return, it's all under contract, but in return we get video, images, a blog post, reviews, all that sort of jazz, yeah. So that content that we get back from them is basically what we then reuse through all our advertising and so on.
You realise the Aussie market wasn't big enough? Your brother packs his bags and moves across to the States and opens up a Milton King branch in the United States of America. Not bad for a little business from Toowoomba.
No. Look, that was a bit of a risk, and we probably did it. We did it earlier than we were intended, purely because we had to. Yeah, the market just wasn't big enough for us here, and it wasn't sustaining us. So we had to take that leap and chase the market, be where the market is, basically. So yeah, that was the reason for that.
I can't even get my head around. How do you open up? Where do you go? What state does he land in? How does he find an office? How does he find, there's so many questions there. Did you just throw caution to the wind, or is he married to a girl from California? I don't know.
No. So, at the time he was seeing a girl, but that was it. But he packed his bag, which was just a carry-on, I think, and off he went. We'd already been to Austin in Texas, and we'd checked that out. And we also did a trip to New York and trying to work out where would suit us. Austin at the time in 2016 was just on its upward trend, and it was becoming quite fashionable. So we got in there pretty early. It was, a similar sort of vibe to Brisbane, I guess. So we thought, this suits us. It's not far from Dallas, which is a main transport hub. So it just, it was a good spot. And over he went, yeah.
What did he do to immerse himself in that community of designers? Did he have contacts? Was it a positive being an Aussie?
Yeah, look, from all reports, being an Aussie certainly helped him. I guess at the time it was more about just getting over there to do customer support and to reduce those shipping times. So we were sending stock at that time, so it made a fair bit of sense to have a warehouse there and ship it that way. But we've changed production since then, so it's slightly different. But yeah, he just basically got over there. He's very good at talking to people, so it was quite easy for him, and away he went.
You must have had a massive shipping bill. You get to 80% of your business was over in the States, and you're shipping over there?
Yeah, so that's right. We run about 80%. So, the shipping bill's big. So, yeah, our next step is to start producing locally over there or domestically over there and reduce that shipping bill.
Oh, you still haven't done that? You still are shipping?
Yeah, we're still shipping from here. So samples are done domestically. You can jump online, order a sample, and it'll be at your door in a couple of days. But finished goods still come from Toowoomba.
Do you know the thing that scares me the most about wallpaper?
What's that?
Have a guess. You must know.
Putting it up or taking it off.
Hanging it. You got one shot at it.
No, it's very easy. Very easy. Look, paper, like all things, paper technology or paper production has improved over the years, and And non-woven wallpaper is a piece of cake to install and comes off in big sheets.
You are selling it beautifully.
Yeah.
What do you say to the Milton and King client who rings and says, Mr. Capp, I've just spent $1,200 on some rolls of wallpaper. I've hung the first roll and I've completely stuffed it up.
Well, we don't. I mean, usually we ask, whose wallpaper is it? Because it doesn't sound like it'd be ours.
Ah, there you go.
But no, it doesn't happen often. It is pretty easy to install.
You talk on your website about plenty of bruised egos in the early days of Milton and King. Was that your ego, your brother's ego? Who are we talking?
Oh, no, I think a combination of the two of us. I guess what that refers to is, when all our mates are in high-paying bank jobs or doing well in their late 20s, early 30s, and we're still, scrounging money together. I guess that was probably what that refers to.
Well, that tide's changed. A $6 million a year wallpaper business out of regional Toowoomba. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's getting there. It is, certainly is. We're not quite at 6 million. We were 4 million last year. We're on target for 6 this year, hopefully. So,
are you happy with that?
Oh, look, no, we're not. We want a lot more than that. We can see that there's a lot more in it. No, there's heaps to go.
Does that mean you're looking at a market that you've hardly got a grip on and you can see the potential? But for what reason? Manufacturing capacity, lack of capital. Why can't you quickly? It sounds like why can't you quickly grow more of that market into more of that market?
Well, I guess it is because we're not locally manufacturing it there yet. There's a bit of that. There's different segments of the market. There's wholesale, which we also do. We print for other brands. Those opportunities in the US are far greater than they are here. Just being there locally, and customer support and all those sort of things improve when you're there. And basically, it's capital and size of the team, I guess. We can't do everything and we can't do everything quickly, so that's probably the main thing. But it takes time to build a big brand.
I've seen you talk about a great customer journey being key to a great business. Is that something you pride yourself on?
Yeah, we do. Look, we've worked pretty hard on our customer support. Buying wallpaper online is new to most people. There's some that they all need education around the product, how hard it might be to install, all those sorts of things, how quickly it'll arrive, what paste to use. So there's a fair bit of education involved in it, and then there's a lot of support required. So it's introducing that customer to the brand and then making sure they're happy with their finished product. Basically, that's the journey we're striving to maintain. Yeah.
What's the most effective way, Bryce, that you get wallpaper on people's radars? Because I guess your marketing communication strategy could be targeting people who want wallpaper, but then there's that whole market that are off painting their house, and you could sort of do this negative positive marketing message, which is, hey, don't paint your house, wallpaper it. Do you do that? Is there sort of a bit of a mix there?
Yeah, look, we don't really compete with paint because we can't, I don't think, because it's cheaper to paint. Most people will consider it easier and they're familiar with it. For us, we're generally targeting people that are into wallpaper or have previous experience with wallpaper, or those first-timers that have seen their favourite interior designer put it up or a blogger that they follow use it and are willing to give it a go. We get a lot of first time users and they're just mostly mums that are willing to give it a go.
It's interesting, we painted our house in November last year, the whole house inside and out, and we didn't consider wallpaper because it wasn't on our radar. My girlfriend Sarah absolutely, loves interiors and aesthetics and all that. I showed her your website last week. She says, this is awesome. She's chosen a couple of wallpapers that she wants to change, walls that we spent however much painting, 6 months ago. Yeah. She wants to wallpaper. So, A, can I have a discount? No. My point being, there is a market. I mean, we're a market that, I don't know how you would have gotten to us because we were in the paint market, not the wallpaper market. But to me, that just seems like, your problem is you don't have a marketing budget like a Dulux or a Berger, do you? You can't compete with that.
No, you cannot. It's a tough one. It really is. And particularly in Australia, it is a really hard sell for us. So, yeah, it is tough. that's why we're probably not growing at the speed we want to.
In terms of, do you have a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel that you're constantly educating and training people to come around to wallpaper?
Yeah, we have a blog. We're pretty heavy on the Instagram and the Pinterest, so that's mostly where our traffic comes from. But a lot of it's word of mouth through those influencers in the US. That's where largely our market comes from.
Is there a bit of a cringe factor around wallpaper still that you need to work through in terms of people going, oh, it's a bit 1972? Your prints are not 1972, by the way. They're much more 1973. No, that's not true. 2021. So there is still a bit of that cringe, but...
Well, there is, yeah. And everyone, they still believe it's hard to get off the wall and it's tricky to put up. So there's that hurdle that we've got to cross, and that's just about education. Like, hopefully one day a big brand will roll through and so we'll educate the market, and on the back of that we'll get more sales. That'd be the ideal thing. That would be ideal.
Yeah, that's interesting, because sometimes, business owners have to make that decision. Do we take it on ourselves to educate the market and grow it for everyone, or do we wait for a bigger player to come through? It's probably not going to happen anytime. Do you think a big player will come through? What is the biggest wallpaper brand in the world?
Well, it depends on what you're in. Like, if you're in commercial vinyl, there's a couple of big producers in the US, and there's a big sellers here in Australia too in commercial vinyl. In domestic wallpapers, there's quite a few big brands that do a lot of volume, and they've been around for a very long time, 50 to 100 years. So it's there's some big brands out there. Yeah.
What's your favourite design, Bryce, in the Milton and King archive?
Oh, it's a tough one. I don't know. I really don't know. I like them all, I guess. I mean, I curate most of them, so one of the ones that's cheap and easy to print, I guess.
Being in Toowoomba, it's a big regional town in Queensland. How has that aided your growth, or has it hindered it?
Look, it wouldn't have done either, to be honest. We don't get walk-ins. We don't sell it locally, so it's really just a lifestyle choice to come to Toowoomba. We're Toowoomba boys. We went to school here, and it was just easier for us to come up here and get into it. The internet's just as quick. It's just a good spot to do it.
I interviewed the girls from Spell and the Gypsy Collective, a clothing brand out of Byron Bay. It's mainly online. They have a flagship store, though, in Byron that people come from all over the world to visit pre-COVID, and it works a treat for them because it sort of makes an intangible online brand tangible and builds a bit more trust. Have you ever thought of having a Milton and King showroom in, Macquarie Street, Sydney, or James Street, Brisbane?
Yeah. Look, the thought's crossed our mind. It certainly has. Toowoomba's no Byron Bay, so it wouldn't be much good here. But no, it has crossed our mind. And if anywhere, we'd probably do it in the US. Probably get a lot more traffic if we did it there.
No doubt. Well, great story, Bryce. Thanks for sharing it, mate. MiltonandKing.com is where all you design aficionados can go and bring your next home to life. It's a great website just to look at from a whole lot of different angles, the quality to the design, to the usability, to the customer experience. Well done, mate.
Thanks, mate. It's always a work on, though. It's not always 100%.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bryce.
Pleasure.
Well, there you go, team. Milton and King wallpaper aficionado, Bryce Capp. Not every day you get to speak to a wallpaper aficionado. I love the fact that Bryce sees his brand as a major point of difference, and I would agree with him as he's put a lot of effort into creating a premium look and feel for Milton and King. That said, if you're thinking of using your brand as a way of standing out, then be sure to put the upfront work into identifying and understanding what your brand stands for. I've talked a lot about this in past episodes, and a major part of doing this is to intimately understand your ideal customer and being very clear on the personality you want to get across. I'm also impressed regarding Bryce at how early they were using social influencers to create awareness around his relatively new brand. If you'd like to learn more about that whole world of the social influencers and micro-influencers, it's gone mad, hasn't it? Then take a listen to a chat I had with Jules Lund a few years ago, who owns the social influencer agency Tribe. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And I love how Bryce's brother packed his bag, his overnight bag no less, and took off to the States to start building the business globally with very few contacts or money. That right there, team, is business courage. Love to know what grabbed your attention. Call the Small Business Big Marketing Hotline. I promise I won't answer, but you can leave a recorded message for up to 5 minutes. 0480 015 150. Righto, let's meet third generation jeweller Lachlan Hogan of Hogan's Family Jewellers, located in downtown Toowoomba. Now, Lockie's business is not dissimilar to most other jewellers. He has a shop on a main street. He's a designer by trade and employs another 10 just like him, designing all the usual pieces, rings, necklaces, bracelets. But what makes Lachlan's business special is that it's Queensland's largest regional jeweller with a multi-million-dollar turnover, and it's a 76-year-old third-generation family business with clients all over the world. I started off by asking Lachlan if it was his dream to become a jeweller in his family business, or was it simply expected of him?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say it was expected of me from a young age or anything, because, my dad had a hell of a time trying to keep this place, alive and going for a long period of time and establishing it to what it is, and the stress of it all, the financial pressure, everything that he felt throughout a lot of years. He actually told us, all of us, his kids, he never wanted us to go through that. It's quite a weird situation to end up now in that same position after he didn't want us to do that, but I have ended up in it, not only because I wanted to, but I've also got a really defined skill for art, and workshop were my two favourite subjects at school, and those skills are what jewellery making is. So it really suited me, and I love designing and making jewellery, but just, having this business and the stress and the pressure of it comes along with that. So,
was it a moment in time when you sat Dad down and said, "Hey, listen, Dad, I know you've warned me against this. I've seen what you've been through, but I'm going ahead and I'd like to be the third generation," or was it just something that happened over time?
It's something, I just did my apprenticeship. I didn't really think too much about it because, I just was thinking, I wouldn't mind making jewellery. I'll have a crack at doing an apprenticeship, and it all went well. And I did a design course over in Italy, a jewellery design specialist course, and just was doing my passion and my hobby. And after that, getting into the business side of things, then I started to feel stress and pressure. I'd never felt that when I was a younger guy, and it's sort of, then you started to get the pressure and everything of dealing with all the clients. And
you're still a young bloke. You're 30 years old. You're running a third generation business. You've got a creative passion and bent. You've been to Italy to explore that. You've studied that at a tertiary level, which in any of those situations, correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't teach you how to run a business. They teach you how to make a nice ring. So how are you transitioning into that business side of things? Is it easy or difficult?
I actually find the business thing not that difficult, really. Growing up with this business in our family, we've always understood how it operates and what is required and the commitment level needed. I've never done a business course or anything, but I've just got a good background of understanding, really, and doing the job on the job side is the best way to learn of how to manage and run something. Going to uni for 4 years wasn't my cup of tea, but at the end of the day, someone with a uni degree may do it very similarly to the way I've done it, just through learning how my parents and grandparents did it. So,
does it dampen your creativity when you've got to address a payroll issue, or you've got to talk about hiring new staff, or I know you're going through a rather large expansion process, so there's a whole lot of real estate questions?
Yes, you got to take your creative jewellery design hat off and your craftsman hat off to do the business side of things. But, that's what I find a real skill of a business owner, is being able to flick a switch and turn from a staff member within their business doing what people come to see them for, to then flick a switch and all of a sudden you're running the business, and you've got to make business decisions with staff or with suppliers or with invoices and all your financial side of things. That's the business owner's side, and when you're in a small business, you're expected to do both. And that's what I find the real skill and the real sort of impressive side of a small business is. You've got to be a business person, but you've also got to be the highly skilled person that people are there to see.
No doubt. In this regional Queensland series that I'm doing, I spoke earlier to Daniel Condon of Polar Industries in Townsville. Now, Daniel, sparky by trade, but very quickly realised he needed to get off the tools and do the business stuff, which he embraced. He loves it. He's very glad to say goodbye to the tools. Do you fear the day when you no longer have the time to make a piece of jewellery?
That's approaching quicker than I ever thought because we're getting so busy and I'm doing more and more designs every day and sitting with clients, which I love both sides. I love designing and making pieces, so I don't have a preference on what I do. I prefer actually to do them both equally. But these days I seem to be doing designs more often than making pieces, so my time on the bench is very limited, and that is a problem for me because I actually love it and I don't want to give it up. I'm not one of those people that are looking forward to getting off the tools and not ever doing it. I actually, I'm thinking nowadays I already do 6 days a week and mostly in the store, in the design cubicles, in the workshop, maintaining everyone's workload and ordering components and whatever. My biggest problem is I'm losing my time on my bench. Now I'm starting to think I should be doing bench work on a Sunday. I'm thinking that's my day. I can actually keep up my skills and my passion because during the Monday to Saturday, 6 day a week job, I don't get time for it. So I'm sort of the opposite opinion. My goal isn't to get off the tools as much as Dad says I need to and just focus on growing different areas and all that sort of stuff. I do love it and that's my goal.
You and your dad have, from what I can tell in our conversations off air, differing philosophies around moving the business forward. The young buck Lachlan's come in and said, all guns blazing, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. And your dad's like, I've never done that. That's just, I guess, part of family business. How do you navigate those conversations? Do you just stick your feet in the ground and go, this is how I'm going to do it? Or
I was in a unique situation because my dad actually left to Brisbane for the last probably 5 or 6 years. He took over a little store down there and had a goal of transforming that because I was here in our business in Toowoomba and running it well and didn't really need his help too much. So he either had the choice of retirement or go and chase another dream or goal that he had, and that was to have a store in the Big Smoke. And so he went for that and left me here. So I was left to make, at the age of about 23 or 4, with a set of keys to a 70-year-old family business.
What a great endorsement by your old man to say, hey, listen, I reckon you've got this, Lockie.
He must have liked what he saw previously and he just handed me the keys and said, just keep doing what I've always done and I'm just going to try something out in Brisbane. And it lasted 5 years. And when he came back here, this place was 60-70% bigger or better than it was when he left, and now his plan was to retire and got rid of the Brisbane store. He's come back to work here in Toowoomba temporarily, and he's seen how busy, chaotic and everything we are and how much it's grown, that's what's helped convince him that we need to go to the next level, which is my next plan.
I want to know what levers you pulled to add 60 or 70% in 5 years. Before that, though, your old man's gone down to Brisbane. He's bought a store. Did that become a Hogan's Family Jewellers brand, or did it remain?
No, he just took over a little original family business down in Brisbane with a similar background to us, but he didn't want to change the name because he didn't want it to look like we were expanding and putting stores out around the country or something, and then all of a sudden in 5 years, because he had a 5-year window before retirement, he didn't want to then close it and look like we were going backwards.
And Lockie, did he come back at any point and go, geez, son, it's a hell of a lot easier running a jewellery empire in regional Queensland than in Queensland's capital city, or he's made no...
No, there was a big experience. It taught us not to take for granted our history and our establishment here that we've got with our area, because, we just get people walk through the door constantly, almost at an uncontrollable rate, who just will, accept any job that we insist on them doing. Our quotes, if we suggest something, they say, yep, no problem, do it. There's no questions asked. There's no trust issues because we've been here so long doing such a good job and have such a good reputation that people don't even question or go anywhere else. They just walk straight in and they pretty well proceed with the jobs. Whereas down there in Brisbane, you're the new kid on the block down there. So it was more the other way around. They're going, okay, I don't know this guy. I've never seen this guy. I better check and get maybe a price check somewhere else or see what someone else's opinion is. And so stepping into a new field where you didn't have much of a name, especially because you didn't establish the Hogan's name, which we do have a lot of Brisbane and Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast clients who have somehow had a connection with Toowoomba in the past, but they didn't recognise that we were down there because the Hogan's name wasn't down there. So he was in a different name store, so no one really knew it was him down there.
You've got a massive, you might not have given any thought to this, but I'll give it a go anyway. You've got a massive asset in 76 years of being in business, 3 generations. You are entrenched in the Toowoomba fabric, DNA, and that creates trust. Like you said, people are less price sensitive. They look to you for guidance, inspiration. It's an easier sell. If you were opening up a jewellery shop today, have you ever given any consideration as to what you would do to accelerate the building of trust?
I don't think there is anything much you can do except years and years of hard work and dedication and honest work and, you know, recommendations and things like that. It's not something you can buy. There's no amount of money in a budget and a marketing budget that buys trust or buys a reputation. And that's something we understood very heavily as soon as we went down there. You can stock the window with as much jewellery as you want or market it as heavily as you want on Facebook, but there's no amount of money that will build the trust instantly, and it's only something that time will build. And you need to just do a continuous, amazing job for a long time, which is, to our credit, I think from the feedback I get, that's what we've done over a long period of time. We haven't focused the business on, you know, I look at businesses all around the country that are 75 years old or over 50. They've got either stores all around the country, they've got, you know, all sorts of things going on. Except by doing that, you're reducing the level of quality of service, quality of stock, quality of everything, quality of staff knowledge. Everything is reduced because your attention's divided between multiple stores or multiple outlets. And I understand scalability for sales, success and all that sort of thing, but it's not a great business model in the terms of a great business feedback and all of that side of the business, you know, of getting a good reputation for quality, loyalty and all that sort of stuff.
You said you increased business. I'm gathering you meant turnover when the old man went down to Brisbane by 60 to 70%. What were those levers, those 2 or 3 levers that you did pull in order to do that? Was it turnover? First of all, was it turnover or was it cost saving?
A bit of everything, actually. I noticed some areas that we could save money in, which, you know, that was just, you just look at where the dollars are going and you go, well, do we really need that? Do we really need this? We're paying for a couple of things here that aren't really getting us any more business. And definitely in areas of marketing, I was very conscious of that. In a small business, your marketing dollars have to be conservative. So I looked at, geez, we're spending a lot of money on TV ads. TV ads don't really give you much of a guide on who's seeing the ad, and you know, you can't really target your audience very accurately. So we went, right, what if we halve the budget and go into the social media side of things? We pretty well canned TV ads for 5 years and went into social media and did more targeted style advertising to people who are our suitable sort of clientele, which straight away halved the marketing budget, but I reckon probably gain more traction.
I would probably argue, and the TV ads would be a great way of building awareness, although awareness in Toowoomba of Hogan Family Jewellers is pretty high. Were you able to redirect some of that TV or radio money that you may have been spending back into a better creative strategy on the same mediums? Or
I think we really just focused into social medias more because we'd done so many other different mediums of advertising in the past, newspapers and magazines and, you know, the TV predominantly and things like that. Whereas, you know, you put all the dollars into those things, you don't actually know who reads it, how many people read it, what age they were, who were reading it. You know, they can give you a bit of a guide, the TV stations, on those sort of things. But when you can go into Facebook and you can define your own audience for a particular post, you know, if it's an engagement ring, I'm going to nail the 25 to 40-year-old market, or if it's a nice older style piece of jewellery that suits a lady, you know, who might be in her 50s or 60s, let's target that audience. So you can really define who you want to send this post to, and it's really effective for any business, but we've found it to be effective for us.
Mind you, I can see Hogan's Family Jewellers TV ads in the middle of Bachelor or Bachelorette. That'd go down the tree.
We are running them currently in the middle of The Bachelor, and we just ran them through Farm Wants a Wife and, you know, all those sorts of shows that need a jeweler at the end of it, I guess.
No doubt. Any other levers you pulled? So redirecting some marketing funds?
My biggest thing was I looked at areas to grow. So in terms of where can we grow that does bring dollars in and that is what we're good at that a lot of people don't offer, and that's our workshop. It's our engine room that we have always had 3 or 4 jewelers in the workshop, just like any, I guess, small to medium-sized jewellery store. You have a few jewellers on the bench. Dad was one of them, and I was the 5th sort of jeweller as an apprentice. As I became qualified and we started to pick up a lot of friends' jobs and advertise the workshop more, and I started doing my thing with designing and all that sort of side of the business, it picked up, and I've gone with it and gone, right, let's get another trainee or an apprentice, let's get another trainee or apprentice, and we've slowly added one, and now we're up to 11 of us in the workshop. And instead of, I guess, Dad was always just happy with having a few guys, and it was lower stress because less staff and, less jobs to maintain and design and order stones for it. Just everything was less, it's easier and less stressful. But I sort of had this desire to grow it bigger because I could see the opportunity. So, yeah, on one side we're saving some dollars here and there, but he's always run it pretty thin, I guess, on pretty conservatively as a small business in a conservative area. Didn't have huge outlays everywhere, just little, little budgets for marketing, little budgets for everything. But I just wanted to grow in job numbers and turnover. One
of the things I know you do very well, the VIP nights, that whole face-to-face marketing thing, you can't beat it really. What's your secret sauce for those? I'm not into doing them. It might look fancy from the outside, but we hired just a nice venue, and I think if we kept it simple and just, we keep them simple and just have, some nice flowers and nice decorations around the place and put it on well, and I'll get up and do a bit of a speech, welcome everyone, and present the stock that's on display, like at our Pink Diamond night recently, opening night, where we had 150 of our really good clients, friends and family. And I think the secret is keeping it simple but delivering it well. Sometimes people lash out and do these crazy over-the-top things that cost a fortune, and at the end of the day, if you don't deliver it very well, it's not well received, I guess. So I think the secret is, just putting it on well, keeping it simple, and making sure everyone has a good time, everyone feels welcome everyone at the door, do a nice welcome speech and explain what the night's all about. And at the same time, we didn't go in with the intention to sell everything, like crazy, and I didn't have this big, hard sell everyone on the night, which I know a lot of people do VIP nights just to try and sell everything, and that's not what it was about for me. And, I wasn't even going to have a credit card machine there. Actually, it was just going to be a night where we welcome everyone and give them first priority to look at our stock, and then say, you're welcome to come into the store and buy things and look at them further if you like. But one of the ladies said, you better have a card machine because you don't know what will happen on the night, and you don't know if people want to buy something. And we did have it there, and lo and behold, sold way more than we ever thought we could have. So it's nice to have that reaction from people, but we definitely didn't go out with a hard sell. We never do go out with a hard sell sort of feel. It's just a casual night and just see what people appreciate that. No doubt. You are about to embark on a once-in-a-generation expansion. You're doubling the workshop and the retail space. Clearly an initiative from the third generation young man.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about all that?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Actually, I was speaking to the builders today. We've got the designs finalised, working with Council Town Planning at the moment. This workshop and this store will be one of the most impressive, or probably if not the most impressive fit outs in the state, I reckon, just simply because we've got the numbers of jewellers to have a massive workshop. We've got over 10 now, as I said before. We've got 11 jewellers, including Dad and myself. So with the ability to grow to up to 20, it will become one of the biggest workshops. We already are one of the biggest workshops in Queensland, but one of the biggest in Australia, I think, by the time we grow a few more apprentices. And the amazing thing is we don't do trade work. We only do our own work. Our customers walk through our door, we do their work, and that's how many people we need to do our customers' work. So we're not out there taking everyone else's work just to keep our business alive. We only do our own jobs.
You'll have to make sure that there's a wall dedicated to some Milton and King wallpaper, who is the other Toowoomba business that's part of this regional Queensland series.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm very interested to meet those guys. I've read a little bit about their business, and international business, and, I'm very chuffed to be associated in this sort of thing with a business of that caliber.
I do think there's a lot of synergies. I hate that word.
Yeah.
Between what you guys do, you're a premium business, beautifully established, is a real aesthetic to what you do and design, and those guys are the same. They have 600 wallpaper designs and they're adding one a week. It's quite incredible. But anyway,
wow.
I digress. You will meet them at the Toowoomba event. Hey, Lockie, great story, mate, and I wish you all the best. And I look forward to seeing that new jewellery store and workshop, the biggest in Queensland.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. It took me by surprise that you'd ask us to. We're just the little old family business tinkering away in a small town, but to be asked by yourself to be on the show is quite a privilege, and very glad to be part of it.
Mate, my pleasure. hogansfamilyjewellers.com.au is where you'll find Lockie. And, mate, thank you for sharing some great insights.
No problem. Thank you, Tim.
Well, there you go, team. Third generation jewellery store owner Lachlan Hogan of Hogan's Family Jewellers in Toowoomba. I love the fact that he doesn't take for granted the longevity and history of his family business, nor is he arrogant about it. What he does see is an incredible asset that he can trade off in all his marketing messaging. I love how he's constantly looking for areas to grow. I imagine it would be relatively easy to stand still in such an established business and not want to rock the boat of those family members that have gone before him. But he's taken a bit of a different view, has young Lockie. And I love how he backs himself, growing the business by 60 or 70% in those first 5 years when he took over. That's no mean feat, right? Who wouldn't love a bit of that growth? I'd love to know what grabbed your attention. Call me 0480 015 150. Leave me a message. I may well play it on an upcoming episode. Well, I hope you enjoyed this 7th instalment of this series showcasing amazing businesses in regional Queensland. If you'd like me to come to your part of regional Australia, send me an email, tim@timreid.com.au, and we'll see what we can do. Next week, we wrap things up by heading across to the Gold Coast, where we meet two absolute giants of business. Kenton Campbell, the founder of Zaraffa's Coffee, which is a very large coffee franchise with over 2,000 staff and 73 cafes across Australia, along with Grant Mayo, former world champion bodybuilder and founder of Nutrition Warehouse, a business turning over $100 million a year with 80 stores nationally. These guys have a fair bit to share. You don't want to miss next week's episode. If you'd love to know how and why to create helpful marketing, then grab a copy of my book, The Boomerang Effect, over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. If you're loving this podcast, then you'll find another 572 episodes on your favourite podcast app. I encourage you to download the Listener app, LISTNR. It's free and it's got this podcast, obviously, and my other podcast, Marketing in Minutes, on it. As has been the case for the past 12 years, this podcast was presented by moi, Timbo Reid. The pots and pans played by Muso Lockie Doley. Thank you, Lockie. And then wrangled together by producer Romy Sher. Thanks, Rom. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.